everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Beyond the Court with League One Volleyball. I'm your host, Courtney Thompson, and I'm so fired up to take you behind the scenes with some of the top coaches in volleyball and beyond. As a two-time Olympic medalist and former coach, I know how important it can be to have someone in your corner encouraging you to really find your best. And for all of those coaches that are listening, I think sometimes we forget how that one lesson, that one phrase, that one conversation can really change an athlete's life, even if it's years down the road. So join us as we talk with coaches that have won Super Bowl championships, that have helped Team USA win their first ever gold medal in volleyball, that have committed to over 20 years of training the next generation of athletes. I am so grateful and excited to continue to learn from coaches that have inspired us in ways that go far beyond the court. So without further ado, let me introduce you to our first guest, indoor volleyball NCAA champion at USC and a three-time Olympic medalist in beach volleyball, April Ross. April, I'm so excited to get to talk to you today. Been a big fan from afar. I know you won 2 national titles at USC. You kicked my ass my freshman year, which is the first time I got to meet you. And then obviously you got the hat trick in the Olympic Games. And, you know, more importantly, I think the volleyball world's small, and you've been someone that just exudes authenticity and commitment to like your craft and to the people you care about. And I admire it so much. So thank you for taking the time with us today.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk with you and be a little part of League One. So yeah, it's exciting.
And where are you joining us today and how you been? What's going on?
I'm in Manhattan Beach, which is where I reside now with my husband and little baby.
Yes.
I'm, being a mom now, and that's a big learning curve, but so amazing and fun and hard. And getting back on the sand a little bit, I took a hiatus and am training back with Alex Kleinman.
Yeah.
I will say I have a lot more. I had respect before, but a lot more respect for how hard the game of beach volleyball is and like just physically and cardio wise. Yeah. And then for my mental health, like just getting out of the house, 3 times a week, 4 times a week and socializing with Alex and the other team. And it's such a different mentality than training was before.
Are you training for something or kind of just using it to enjoy and that piece of you?
I mean, I wanted to play another summer. I didn't want to just kind of disappear, not saying anything. And people were kind of like, April just left and no one said anything. And I always intended to come back and I didn't know at what capacity. And I even left the door open for, if everything felt great and I was super into it, like what if I went, tried for LA. And now at this point, I've had one competition. Alex and I competed in the Huntington AVP back in May. And I think this will be my last season of really trying to do it at a professional level. I can't say I won't ever play in another local AVP or qualifier or something for fun.
Yeah.
So it was more about the challenge of getting back to the sport and doing it just one more time. And I'm really, really stoked that it happened with Alex. Like I had to convince her a little bit. It didn't take a lot. But I wouldn't want to be doing it with anyone else. And, a last hurrah for us as the A team. And I want to do well. Like we did okay in Huntington, but we want to improve. And then the AVP has the new league system happening in the fall, and we'd like to be a part of that and do well.
That's really exciting. And I'm going to ask you more about being a mom later, but I was talking with one of my friends who just had a kid about a year ago, and she was like, people say, like, you got to get back to yourself, and I don't feel like myself. And she's like, I think it's kind of false. Like, you just become this, like, new thing, and then you get to, like, integrate all of it. But does that feel true for you?
Yeah, I'd say I still totally feel like myself. Like, I don't feel different. I feel like this is just the new chapter of my life. And after winning the gold medal, before having a baby, I was kind of like, I don't know what the next chapter holds. And it was a lot of panic. I was like, cause I had always had so much direction with this, these are my goals, and everything seemed very in line with what, I wanted to do in life. And then I accomplished it. And, I probably could have kept going, but at the same time, I was like, why, and what would be the point at, this stage in my life? And, are there other things I want to do? And I had never, I didn't know if I wanted to have a kid, I was just so focused and very content with what I was doing. And I got to that point and I was like, no, I think I do want to have try to have a kid. And, but I don't know if I can. And I was 39 in Tokyo, and it's like, oh my gosh, did I wait too long? So, I feel like all those things fell into place, and now I have my son, and I just feel like it's such a blessing, and it's just so natural that I just feel like this is right, and this is my new chapter, and I've embraced it. And even though it's hard, it's just, it falls in line with, I feel like, who I am. And I feel like I've trained for this, honestly.
I love
it. Because it's hard physically and mentally and emotionally. It's all hard, but so is being a professional athlete and volleyball and all that.
So before we geek out on that further, I want to talk about your process. Like, even on the indoor team, when we were cheering you guys on and watching you from afar, like, you just have this reputation of preparing at the highest level for competition. And just where does that come from for you? And how old were you when you first were like, oh, this is different?
I was, from a young age, trained to prepare as hard as I could. I think that naturally happened because of my dad was always my coach before I played volleyball. So like in soccer and basketball.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Nice.
And we would always, we had our team practices, but then at home we had a basketball hoop, and we'd play out in the street, like at night. And it was always super fun. It wasn't like we were training, but we were kind of always practicing. And then if I said I wanted to get better, he would help me, set up drills in the backyard. So outside of practice, I could like do some extra stuff, did the whole pepper against the wall all the time. And then I got to club volleyball, and we just practiced more than anybody else out there. We did.
Where'd you play club?
Orange County Volleyball Club, with Charlie Brand. Nice. And it's not around anymore. It's Balboa Bay now, but we practiced 4 hours a practice 4 times a week.
Oh my gosh.
With 1 water break. So like, it was just always on the grind. But we always won. Like, we were one of the best teams in the nation. We didn't go to JOs. We always did the Davis Festival or the festival. Like, we won the majority of the time. And it just kind of, I think all those things started to ingrain in me. Like, you practice hard, you prepare hard, and good things will come. And practiced really hard at SC, like me and Nicole Davis, I think, had the same mentality, and pushed our team and pushed ourselves every day. And it was grueling, but then we won 2 national championships, and so it was just like, continued to reinforce that preparation. And once I got out onto the beach, you don't have that, those coaches making you do it. But my first year on the beach, it was very lackluster, was in the qualifier a lot, and was kind of like, okay, if I want to be successful out here, like, I got to do this on my own. And started to put all the pieces in place and built on it every single year. Like, how can I prepare harder and harder? How can I outwork my competitors? Anytime I saw somebody doing something interesting, I was like, okay, I'm going to add that to my routine. And by the end though, like, I was working so hard, which contributed to winning the gold medal. And I feel like it was it all accumulated and was aggregate. But afterwards, I'm like, that was
Yeah.
insane. Like I'm good. I can't do that anymore.
Yeah, we did the
But it
thing.
paid off.
Okay, I don't know if this is gonna resonate, but I think in sports to be like the best of the best, you have to be able to override. Like, I'm tired, but I'm gonna go anyway. Or, I got benched and I'm pissed, but I'm gonna be a great teammate. But there's also this, like, at the highest level, this sense of inner knowing and intuition that's like, ooh, this is what I need to do right now. And again, I'm geeking out from afar, but I feel like you embody both of those at such a high level. How do you think about that? Because, like, for a young kid, like, you've got to learn to, like, go when you don't want to go, but also learn to trust yourself. So how do you think about balancing those two things?
Like you said, it's just it's intuition, but I think intuition is cultivated by experience. So, I can't say I was great at it when I started, but paying attention to everything and being detail oriented as I went and taking ownership of my craft and my path and my body more and more as I went, just cultivated that intuition. So I do believe that you have to be resilient, and you don't get better just working hard when everything feels good and in line with, how it's supposed to feel.
Yeah.
It's when things are hard and you're tired and you push through. I think I was one of the best at doing that, honestly. And that was a big reason for my success. But I could tell when something didn't feel right and was a bigger potential maybe for like longer term injury, and would then kind of police myself and say I need to take some extra time. But then I also problem solved for myself, and who can I see and what can I do and what are the different modalities to help me get back on the court. And then also, like, in choosing a partner, like, who compliments me. And that's when you just depend on paper, like what it looks like on paper, a lot of time that doesn't work out. So you have to use your intuition like Alex and I went and got coffee and talked about, her values, my values, her goals, and everything felt in line. And even though she was a bigger risk, she had 0 points and not a lot of experience on the beach, it just felt right. And so trusted my gut and went with her. And oh my goodness, like what what a good decision in hindsight. But there were people who like really disagreed with that decision at the time and voiced their opinions to me. And you have to shut that out and just trust your gut.
Yeah.
And you never know if it's right in the moment, like you don't know if your intuition is right, but you just have to do the best you can and know that all that experience leading up to those decisions, like subconsciously or, wherever it comes from, is guiding you in the right direction.
I love that. You're like the sense of agency of like, oh, I can dictate my experience here, and just being in that process.
Yeah. And it's a little harder indoor. And that's, part of the reason why I switched to beach and love beach so much is there's not as many people telling me what to do. But, I think as an indoor player, you can still tactfully like advocate for yourself and, make sure you're taking care of your body, because and your mind, like that's what you're relying on. And you care about that more than anybody else.
I was talking to Tyler Hildebrandt on the phone a few days ago, and I was like, hey, I'm interviewing April. And he, of course, just went off about how incredible you are. But one of the things he said is that you have the greatest drive for excellence of anyone he's ever coached.
Oh, that's really sweet.
He was like, ask her about the drive for, working towards perfection. I say that loosely, or like this standard of excellence, but also embracing failure. And how is your relationship with those two things evolved throughout your career?
Back in the day, I didn't know that perfectionism was a bad thing. So I was definitely a perfectionist and, always needed to be better. and had a huge fear of failure. I'm, thinking back to my club days and time at USC. For my last 2 seasons at SC, we were the number 1 team in the nation. We, favorites to win. And, I was always so scared that we were going to lose. Didn't matter who we were playing,
God, it's such a trap, right?
Yeah. And
Damn.
I didn't even realize at the time that like, you didn't have to think that way, or like there were tools to help me think a different way.
Yeah.
And throughout my career, I was I will say, outcome oriented for a large part of my beach career. Wanted to win. Didn't care how we did it.
Yeah.
Wanted to go to the Olympics. It was all about the outcomes. And that created a good amount of anxiety while playing. I was always working on like, how can I be less afraid of losing? Because it creates this anxiety and I hate it.
Yeah.
And a big thing for me was always finding perspective and what are your priorities in life, and just separating yourself from, your identity as it's connected to what you do. And I had to be like, okay, what's the worst that could happen? Okay, we lose. I still love my family. I still live in an amazing place and I have all these great things. And so losing is not that big of a deal. So I just worked on that and like eventually wasn't afraid to lose as much and could play a lot freer out there and find a little bit more joy. But it took a long time. I wish I could have done it faster. I wish, but everything happens for a reason. And that anxiety drove me for a long time, and perfectionism drove me for a long time to get better and better and better. And I think you need a little bit of it. I think everyone who reaches, a certain level of mastery, I don't know, maybe you don't have to like have that, but
I would agree with you. Just a low grade anxiety, like slight OCD.
You have to be a little obsessed and push yourself really hard.
Yeah.
But maybe just the awareness and realizing that that's how you are, it can be helpful.
For sure. And then choose how to relate with it, responding a little bit more. I remember in high school, my basketball coach was like, hey, it's the journey, not the destination. And I was the kid in the back, like, bullshit, you've probably never won anything in your life. Like, I was that also. It was so much about outcomes. And I think it was like the greatest lesson, I think, that volleyball taught me, was that you can care so much, but also come from this like present moment gratitude. And there's an edge in that, just like kind of entering from a different place is how it felt for me. But
yeah, you have to find that fine line. And
did you and Alex, would you say in your run to Tokyo, did you guys hit that throughout, or did I don't know, the last tournament at the Olympics, or did you feel like you tapped into that kind of in the years leading up?
I think slowly it was more up and down.
Yeah.
When we tapped into it, it was amazing. But then like sometimes it just felt like we were forcing it and it wouldn't work. And we had to be a little more outcome oriented and do what we could to figure out what was going wrong. And we would really like have all the gears spinning, like problem solving and, let's try this, rather than just kind of like, let's trust the process. And this is a natural occurrence, the up and down on the way to success. It was like, what's going wrong? We need to fix this immediately.
Yeah.
So they both worked for us. Trying to think, going into Tokyo, I think that, obviously to win a gold medal, you have to have a lot of things working right for you. And I think we managed to peak in all the ways, with help from all of our different people on our team, peaked pretty well in Tokyo. But I did have to work really hard on detaching myself from the outcome in Tokyo.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had to really be like, I don't need a gold medal. I've had an amazing career and I'm just like so grateful to be at my third Olympics, and to have made it with Alex, and the journey has been amazing, and we're just going to do the best that we can, and whatever happens, happens. So that was my mentality in Tokyo.
There's so much beauty in the letting go of that, and it's so freaking hard.
It's so hard. You have every night was meditating, like you have your intentions and your everything, and it's just, you have to be on it all the time.
Yeah.
Otherwise your brain just goes to like, I need the gold medal.
Yeah.
Or else it won't be worth it.
Yeah. Validate this. You know what was cool about your guys' run was not only like just for like watching you two compete out there and the freedom and the joy, it seemed like an edge and all that, but like how many people you guys brought along with you. Like it felt so inclusive from the outside. I was like, hell yeah. I just like, what else in sports? I think it's the best part of what we get to do.
Yeah. It felt like we had a really big crew rooting for us at home, and even there in Tokyo, being that it was COVID, we still had a pretty good group. But yeah, I mean, when you play for 17 years, I like to think you accumulate a pretty good crew.
Yeah.
And I just have a lot of people in my life that really wanted to see me accomplish, the goal I had been working for so long. And it was awesome that we got to kind of like talk to them throughout. And Alex said something that was funny. She was like, at certain points, those parties look so fun. I wish I could be there and be a part of them, but
That's awesome.
But I had to be here playing. So
that's great. I love that duality of Alex. She's so competitive, and then also like, yeah, let's have a good time.
She's literally the most competitive person I've ever met.
Yeah, she's. I'm so stoked to see her find her. I don't know, best self on the beach. Like it's awesome.
Yeah.
What's the best thing she's ever cooked you?
Nothing, really.
Oh, dang it.
No. I'm trying to think. Like, I've been over to her house maybe like once or twice for dinner. Like we spend so much time together that we haven't done a ton of that. We've stayed at a couple Airbnbs throughout the years, and she'll cook some stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get on that.
All right. Yeah. I remember watching you guys in Rio. You won a bronze medal the day before we got to fight for one. And it was so inspiring watching you in that match. Like you were so gritty. And for you to just be like in these really charged moments and appear so focused and get after it and just gritty. How do you define mental toughness? And what's like one story or one example of when you feel like you nailed it?
Oh, that's the one. I mean, that was the grittiest I think I've ever been, and the hardest. I say it all the time, like the hardest match I've ever played.
Why did it feel that way for you?
So in London, when I played with Jen Kessie, my first Olympics, I went in being like, oh my gosh, we're at the Olympics. This is amazing.
Yeah.
So this is kind of the beginning of my career. My mantra was like, just don't get last place. So that's like how kind of like negatively oriented I was.
Yeah.
And we made it to the finals. And I was like, we were just capable of so much more than I gave myself credit for at the beginning.
Yeah.
And so, pairing up with Carrie and going to Rio, I was like, we're going to win the gold medal. Like, I'm going to go in this time with that intention and that focus and really push myself, and we're going to win the gold medal. So when we lost in the semis, it was hugely devastating. And I was so disappointed. We had to get up the next day, go do like our pass and serve, and then warming up for that match. I just had like zero adrenaline, zero like emotional drive. And walking into the stadium, both of us were like, we have to figure out how to like get up for this match. And we lost the first set, and then we were losing in the second set 12-9 to a really good team, the number one team in the world at the time. And I just, at that point, I was like, I do not want to go home without a medal. Like, we worked so hard, and the bronze medal is so gnarly because you either go home, you get to stand on the podium at the Olympics, or you go home with nothing. if at least when you're in the final, like, you're going home with a medal.
Yeah.
But the bronze, it's like do or die. And I just entered this realm. I've never been more in the zone than I was for the rest of that match. Everything was in slow motion.
Yes.
Like, I could see the person hitting. I knew where they were going to put the ball. And like, I don't know what happened, but it's kind of a testament to like, your body will do what your brain decides you want it to do.
Yeah.
In those moments of exhaustion and like your back's against the wall, like you can really still do things and perform. Yeah. So mental toughness is just, to me, finding a way no matter what. Like, doesn't matter what's happening. Like, you can find a way if you want to.
You know what? And this is kind of obvious about sports, but when I retired, I worked for Michael Gervais and Pete Carroll. I know you know both of them. And we were teaching in a corporate setting, like mindset, skills, and culture, and these like high level companies and amazing humans. And yet it's so different in a corporate setting to not be able to bring emotion into it. And even like anger and joy and the celebration, and sports is so beautiful in that way because it's mental, physical, emotional. And you get all of these reps at like one of them being on and two of them not, or vice versa, or whatever. And there's so much strength in that.
Yeah.
I imagine you bring some of that into being a mom. Like, I have nothing and I can do this.
Oh, that's the number one thing that's helped me. Yeah. I've done it. The bronze medal match in Rio was the ultimate test of that, but I've done it so many times and been in weird time zones and not slept and had to get up and perform and just forget that I'm tired. Helps a ton.
That's true. International travel alone is like, here's some resilience.
Yeah.
If you kind of alluded to this, but Mike Gervais, he has a podcast, Finding Mastery. I love it. And he asks this question sometimes, and I think it's dope. So I'm going to steal it. If your life was a book and each of the Olympics were a chapter, what would the titles of each chapter be?
Well, I'll say Rio is holding on too tight.
Oh, preach.
And then Tokyo is Goldilocks and the Three Bears, because the first, I forget all the things, but the first bed was too soft, the second bed was too hard, and the third bed was just right. So,
oh yeah, London,
something about, I'll say PTSD. No, it's not. It's about not like, just not knowing what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
I was so naive and just happy to be there, which is a great spot to be. And then afterwards, I was like, oh my gosh, that was so stressful. How was I not more on it? How was I not more stressed out? Like, and then looking towards the next one, I, added to the stress of that one because I don't know. I just, hindsight, I was like, you were playing in front of a billion people and you didn't even realize that you were just having fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, those would be my three.
Oh, that's good.
Titles, I guess, of those chapters.
Have you ever thought about that you've won the same medals as the indoor team in the last?
Mm-hmm.
That's so wild, right?
Yeah. And me, Fluka, Jordan Larson.
Yeah, that's right.
Might just be the three of us. Maybe there's one more. Yeah. We have the same medals. It's so weird.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite memory from the Olympics?
My favorite memory is my first Olympics, beating Larissa and Juliana in the semifinals to make the finals, because again, they were the number one team in the world at the time. We had lost to them 9 times in a row. And I think,
wow, 9 times. That's awesome.
Yeah. Only beat them here and there. Like before, like, I think then we had won the 10th one before that, but then they probably beat us 9 times in a row before that one again, So
yeah,
definitely the underdogs there. And just to beat them and know that we were going to the finals and getting a medal that's
pretty special.
Yeah. I really have this fond memory in Tokyo. I had like a balcony outside of my room, and I just go out every night and like look at the lights on the skyline and just really think about how grateful I was to be there. And yeah, that was it was just a nice memory also.
Oh, that's so cool. This question was sent in by Jordan Poulter, setter on the indoor team. She wanted to know what moment in your career brought you the most joy.
Honestly, so I've struggled with this a lot. Like, obviously the goal is to play with joy, right?
Sure.
But I don't feel like I really accomplished that hardly ever.
Yeah.
Always the goal. Hard to execute. You know, like I would say after you win, like there's this, for me, like I feel this joy. But I still don't think that's, the point of trying to play with joy. Like it should be, regardless of whether you win or not, you have this joy. What brought me joy the most throughout my career was like if we were at a tournament and we would play these gnarly matches, but then we would find something to do as a team after, in between matches, like throughout the tournament, that wasn't too tiring because you have to recover and all that. But like we'd go to this like cute little restaurant in the Swiss Alps when we were in Stade and just have a team dinner.
It's so cool.
Or things we got to do before. So it was like really doing stuff in between the matches. And then, but the thing that's brought me the most joy so far is playing in Huntington and then like having Ross, my son, there on the sideline afterwards and just getting to like hug him and know that he watched my match. That was pretty special.
I was going to ask what from your playing career would you want to share most with him, your son?
I mean, the thing I'm going to reinforce the most probably is like how hard I worked and how I feel like I made things happen for myself and I didn't wait for other people to select me and just kind of took ownership of my destiny and did everything I could to make it happen. So that's what I'll point to a lot. I'm sure he'll get real annoyed by that. But, I think the funnest things to share with him are going to be the cool trophies I won and, the Olympic medals. And as much as that is a product of outcome, like I have a rad cowbell from the Stade tournament that was the trophy and Norwegian swords from the tournament in Norway and just different trophies. And I think that'll be fun to share with him.
Totally.
And, the thing I'm not going to do is like pressure him to be successful in sports at all. I'm going to say, and the thing that my dad always said to me was like, it's important that you go out and you work your hardest, but at the end of the day, like that's good enough if you feel like you gave it your all. And for me, that's a big thing that sports should teach kids is just hard work, but never will I push them to be successful, if they are great, or if he is great, but that's not a priority for me in any way.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Call.
And I feel like most high level athletes probably feel the same way.
Yes.
I just know that a lot of parents out there today are, can be a little gnarly. And I don't think it's just not good for the kids.
We, at League One Volleyball, I work a lot with the club directors and like once a day I hear a story about a parent and I'm like, that's not real. There's no way. And they're like, no way. I'm like, this is unbelievable. How are you feeling about watching the Paris Olympics? This is going to be your first one in a while. You're not
my gosh. I'm so excited.
Oh, that's awesome.
The only part of me that really wants to be in Paris is the part that gets to drink coffee and eat croissants at cafes.
Yes. Give me that wine.
Other than that, it's like, I'm so excited to just sit on the couch and watch everybody else compete. Yeah, I want to throw like little Olympic parties and watch parties and just experience it all from home.
That's so cool.
Because when you're there also, like you don't get to watch a lot. Like you're so focused on what you're doing. So even on TV, you don't get to watch much. And so I'm just going to like watch the indoor teams, obviously the beach teams and then some of the other events.
We, a few weeks ago, the indoor team had VNL in Texas, and it was the first time I'd watched them live since I played. And I was like, this is great. We hung out with like friends all day and then went to the match. I was like, this whole fan thing.
Awesome. It's so fun.
All right, a few more. I know you got to head to practice soon. Looking back on your career, what are you most proud of?
I think I'm most proud of just like how resilient I was. And, there were tough times personally, there were tough times professionally, and just kind of doing my best through all of those situations and keeping that mentality of, okay, this sucks right now, but how, like, it's going to make me better. It's going to make me stronger. How can I reframe this so that I learn a lesson, or, how can I apply it to the future and have it be beneficial? And that's like, so I just feel like that's so important and such a huge skill to learn in life, and not let those challenges discourage you or, get bogged down by them too much. And I feel like I did a good job of that. And looking back, I've said this a few times, but I'm just like, how did I get through that? How did I keep going? And I'm honestly like proud of myself for how I handled most things, or just at least like how I was able to just continue accomplishing my goals through thick and thin.
Thanks for sharing. And then lastly, what do you hope for every athlete in the country? What do you hope that they understood just a little bit better?
I think how important just the day-to-day mundane things are. Like, you can't just wait for the competition and then try your hardest and be really focused. It's like every day when you show up to practice, working on each individual rep and like staying, you practice your focus, you practice your calmness, like you put pressure on yourself in practice so that in the game you've been there and you know what that feels like and you can regulate your emotions a little bit better. But it's really showing up every single day is what's going to help you be successful in those big moments. It's not how you perform. It's not how you approach the big moments. It's like how you approach every single day. And it's hard. Like, you have to practice focus too. Like, I think that's the thing I want athletes to understand.
Yeah.
Focus is not a thing that you're born with. I mean, you are to a certain extent, but like, I really believe in a growth mindset, and like, you can improve your focus. And that's such a huge part of sports, is being able to focus through a whole match and like on the right things. So I even use reading as a tool to focus, like a lot of people have a hard time reading and, read the same paragraph 4 times before it like sinks in. So practice that, read a book and practice absorbing that knowledge and staying focused as long as you can. That's like one thing that I would do. And meditate. And if it's hard for you to meditate, like, even better. Like, that means it's more important that you do it. So yeah, I think focus is a big thing that you can practice.
Especially these days, man. We got phones, our attention is just all over and so external.
Yeah.
April, thank you so much. I know you're heading to practice, but think the world of you as a player, more importantly, as a person. And this was awesome. I feel like I could ask you questions for like hours. Yeah.
That means a lot. This has been amazing. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Have a good practice.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for tuning in to Beyond the Court, and special thanks to our guest, April Ross, for joining us today. Make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the next episode, where we chat with Dr. Michael Gervais, one of the leading performance psychologists in the world. Dr. Mike works with some of the top athletes, business leaders, and musicians alike. He's also the host of a very popular podcast, Finding Mastery, and Mike is an incredible mentor, a dear friend, and you're not going to want to miss this conversation. To learn more about League One Volleyball, follow us at Instagram at LOVB, and in the meantime, work hard, have fun, and go on and spread the love today. All right, we'll see you next time.